Jake.
Yeah.
I read a comic book this week.
No way.
I want
Absolutely
you.
no
yeah,
way.
I know.
Oh my God.
Fucking crazy.
Never before on this
well,
podcast have you ever started the cold open by saying you've read a comic book. This is unbelievable. I am
Never
flabbergasted.
Before. Yeah. Well, if you're flabbergasted by that, you're going to be even more flabbergasted by the comic book I read. All right? What is it? It's Cheetah and Cheshire rob the Justice League. So, if you don't know anything about DC Comics, Wonder Woman has her arch enemy, Barbara Minerva, is Cheetah, and she's a cheetah lady who's been possessed by some crazy god. And Cheshire is she's kind of like a bad guy. Sometimes she does good things, but mostly she's a villain and she uses poisons and stuff. That's her thing. And for whatever reason, Greg Rucka thought it would be really cool to take those two characters and have them decide to do a heist on the Justice League Watchtower to steal a magic box that has all of the Justice League's superpowers in it. Right?
What is it?
It's
is
kind
it just
of a flimsy
load
plot.
of cash for Batman?
Oh, that would be good.
It's just a box.
I could shoot lasers out of my eyes and I'm a billionaire. Holy shit, this box is the best. But because frankly, Cheetah is like a B-list DC character, I would say. Wonder Woman's A-list, but none of Wonder Woman's bad guys, except maybe Ares, are really in the same tier as Superman's or Batman's villains, you know? So I would say Cheetah's like a B-tier villain, and Cheshire is like C or D tier. Her biggest thing was that she was in Young Justice for a bit, and in the comics, she had a kid with Catman. Exactly. That's the height of her importance in the DC universe.
Not great.
And so I am fascinated to see where this book goes, because the art is stellar. It's really, really good. And the writing is fun. I mean, it definitely feels like kind of a heist movie. It does feel a little bit like Ocean's 11, you know? You get your two main characters who are both charismatic and interesting in their own special way, and they've kind of got a repartee and a back and forth, and they're going to put together a team. And I'm like, all right, cool. So the only issue that's come out has been issue 1, but I'm excited to see where this goes. I would recommend it, if for nothing else, the art. So that's what I read this week. Did you read anything interesting this week, Jacoby?
Nothing new. Still reading a book about the Emperor Claudius. Trying to chip my way through it. It's very long. It's a series.
That's good. I'm also reading a real-life literature book called Death Hunter. It's not very good, but I'm halfway through, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll finish it. You know?
You serious, Charlie?
What?
Are you joking right now?
No.
Okay. For the last 2 cold opens, actually, I don't know if I cut them out from the cold opens because of how annoyed I was. You've brought out the same freaking book over and over again, and then you hinted to me before the podcast that you had finished it, and then you just don't even talk about it. What is your thoughts on...
I did finish it.
On Blood Meridian.
On Blood Meridian? Blood Meridian is by Cormac McCarthy, released in 1985. Is a phenomenal book. It's really, really amazing. It's beautifully written. There's a lot of crazy shit that happens in it. The ending is very much up to interpretation. I have a lot of feelings about it. I think it is a book I will need to reread before I feel I could fully talk about it in an intellectual sense. But just as a reader, it was quite interesting and quite good. I think Blood Meridian's kind of like, it's probably the best book I've ever read, but it's not my favorite book. And I kind of think if it is your favorite book, you might be a bit of a crazy person. You know?
That's funny. That's how I feel
Does that
about
make sense?
Kafka on the Shore, which is a book by Murakami. It's a great book, but if you really like that book, you're a weird person.
Yeah. Because I feel like, because people are like, oh, this is my favorite book. And I'm like, if this is your favorite book, you might be missing the point of this book. Like, it's so cynical and so nihilistic and so violent. And it's really just horrible at points. You watch the principal antagonist of the book, who is on the good guy, quote-unquote good guy, the protagonist's side for most of it, like, scalp a little kid just for shits and giggles, you know?
Damn.
Because it's about a group of scalp hunters, and he just, like, he has a little kid on his lap, and then the main character looks away, and he walks and he talks to somebody else, and he turns back, and the little kid has a bullet in his brain, and the judge is just peeling his scalp off. And it's just like, oof, fucking horrible. I do have a theory about the judge, which is
no spoilers,
more in keeping with our stuff. No spoilers for the book. My theory is that the judge is basically Uatu, the Watcher from Marvel Comics. Because the judge is this, like, huge 7-foot-tall albino dude with no hair on his body at all, right? Who's got, like, tiny little hands and tiny little feet, but he's also got, like, super strength and stuff. And he's, like, there are many theories online, and some people think he's God or the devil or a god of war or a kind of demon. I think he is some sort of, like, celestial watcher being that has decided to come to Earth at this time because he enjoys violence and enjoys, like, depravity and horror. And so this is, the Wild West is a pretty good time to, you know, get your fill of those things. That's my interpretation of him, which is not something I have seen on other people, like, other people talking about it. So,
interesting.
If you want a little bit of a solo, that's just me thinking, because I think he's a little too, being a god or a demon, I think is just a little too easy. You know, it's a little too straightforward.
Yeah.
Oh, he's an evil guy. He's a demon. I think he's, the Watcher. He's Uatu. And he's just come to Earth because he's like, fuck it. Let's get fucked up. I'm going to drink. I'm going to have sex. I'm going to kill people. I'm going to eat people. I'm going to fucking make a fucking umbrella out of a guy. I'm going to do all sorts of crazy shit, you know? And I'm like, all right, fuck it. But you want to know what else is full of all sorts of other crazy shit? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long. With me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gun, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. Excited. Another episode of the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, episode 265, I believe. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
excited, too.
You've prepped this episode quite extensively, so I'm excited to see what your idea is, how it's gonna happen. Do you? I think what was my title? Was it Nessuno Niente? Was the title I gave you?
Nessuno Niente,
which in Italian means no one, nothing.
Yeah, Nessuno Niente is the title, and it will be in the show at some point. But it might be a little bit hard to figure out where it's going at first, right? So, how I started making this show was talking shit on Dune. Now, I talk a lot of shit on those Dune movies in this podcast. You know this. Yeah. I've talked it to you many a time.
Last 2 episodes. Last 4 episodes, I think, actually.
Yeah, I will continue to talk shit on those Dune episodes. And
episode
so I was
260
like, you know what?
was you hating on Dune the whole time.
Yeah, good. It deserved it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own Dune. I'm going to do a Dune, and it's going to be better than fucking Denis Villeneuve's Dune, all right?
Oh, God.
Because there's going to be... my characters are going to act like human beings.
I'm excited. I have done a bit... I've also started to get down on Dune as well. I like the movies, but I looked up some of the lore, and I think it's just really kind of stupid and weird, to be honest. A lot of this... I mean, I know it's like, you know, the Godfather of sci-fi or whatever, or something. Yeah. Whatever you want to call this book, but it's you know, it gets a little too strange.
Very cerebral. Yeah.
No, I don't know if I don't think it's cerebral. I think it's just weird. I think weird is the only way to put it. He makes weird decisions with the lore.
He really does, especially in the latter novels, because I know the first book is kind of a pretty straight ahead hero's journey sort of sitch, and then after the second one's supposed to be pretty good, and then the third one onwards is just batshit crazy. That's as far as I'm aware. So I was thinking to myself, well, what is Dune? Dune is grand space opera, huge, massive space shit, you know? Like thousands of people running ships, millions and millions of, you know, like little scuttering creatures running around in space, like taking care of things. It's like huge stakes, big, crazy characters living in worlds that aren't even remotely connected to our world. And so, I have written about 3 pages of prose, basically setting up the first episode, right? And I haven't proofread these pages, but we're going to read through them right now because it's fun. And what else is this show about? It's about crazy shit. This show is full of crazy, silly nonsense. Mm-hmm. And so we're gonna get through these pages, and afterwards, then I'll start explaining more of where the show's gonna go and what happens later in it and all this stuff, right? Yeah. So please bear with me for a second. The great clans arrive on Nuterum 3 on a cool winter day. Anissa and her husband Gino welcome both the esteemed clans into their home. Gino is a professional mediator. When trade disputes need solved or declarations of war or surrender need finalized, mediators are the neutral parties invoked. There are 6 Nuterum worlds across trade collective space. All of them host a handful of mediators. Gino had purchased Anissa a few years prior from a slaver who needed to repair a faulty fuel line in his secondary landing engine. While tinkering with the mechanics of his ship, he was able to offload Anissa, who had become a consummate problem on the ship. Anissa had come to accept her fate as a mediator's wife, enjoying the respect given to her by all the visitors she had seen over the years. She watched as dozens of different ships from hundreds of cultures had come and gone, and she still found herself in awe of them every time, always wishing to be aboard. Clan Toth Ursa landed first. Their great long ship glittered with the loot of 1,000 worlds. Diamonds and jewels of every color adorned the side of the ships. The ships were massive communities of structures leaning haphazardly on one another, all built on top of a thin bed of space-worthy plunder. Toth Ursa is nomadic by nature, their original homeworld having been annihilated by the trade collective centuries ago. It's a show of force. Since the Holocaust, Toth Ursa has plundered half of the unallocated planets, maintaining their forced alliance with the trade collective. First off the ship is Toth Mother Quinta, who had led her people from the bowels of self-imposed exile to the heights of plunder they now find themselves. She is adorned with an animal carcass, a massive predator whose teeth challenge arms for length, and whose 6 eyes all glimmered in slightly different shades of orange. Behind her is Toth Prince Skull, a young shy boy wearing a ceremonial armor much too big for his gaunt, unathletic frame. He carries with him a massive spear carved from the hull of a recent conquest, the skulls of his victims stacked upon the handle like a totem pole. Clan Artra Nox arrived later. Their inverted pyramid ship rippled the air around it. The point of the pyramid digs deep into the cold sand, holding the ship upright as the landing gear descends. A line of supplicants and warriors leave the ship, all cloaked in the ceremonial garb of Atronox, flowing robes of celestial wool. The wool is a living thing, moving and wrapping in the wind across it. Moving and wrapping in the wind, across it a magnificent mural of the stars. The planets, solar winds and stars and stellar dust storms dance across the garb, an unending dance that spells the beginning and end of all things. The black canvas is a deep darkness, like that of a crow's eyes. Unknown motives plague the mind of all that look upon it. The shogun of the Atronox is wheeled out. He is a stern-looking man with a thick white beard that flows in all directions around his head. His body locked into a massive mechanical prison that keeps his heart bumping and his lungs inflating. Their god king, Lord Hend Nox, had been grievously wounded decades ago in an assault on the Nox homeworld. He had nearly perished, but was saved by a man who would become his primary physician, Coley Scrum. I kind of, I'll be honest with you, I got a little fun with the names. Behind Hand marched his son. Like the rest of the congregation, unlike the rest of the congregation, Blum Knox is wearing a golden robe sewn from the final explosion of a dwarven star. Blum also wears an enormous crown constructed of the skulls of various animal species he had personally driven extinct.
God damn.
As the crowds of people shuffle into the mediator's home, the princes walk shoulder to shoulder, both trying to be the first through the threshold. As they walk past the entrance, Blum sticks his foot out and trips the young prince Skull.
Oof.
Both entourages hold their weapons ready as Knox readies his saber and Skull grips his spear, steadying himself on it. The two princes glare at each other, weapons ready and drawn for bloodshed. Gino steps in between them. Stop! Stop! There will be no bloodshed in my hall. You've both arrived to avoid this kind of ugliness. Your weapons remain drawn. I shall call off this negotiation and form the trade collective of your uncooperative nature. The boys sheathe their weapons and skulk away to their respective seats. The rest of the crowd shuffles in and finds their place among their lords. The Toth Mother and God King are the last to enter. They bow their heads at each other and find their places among the rabble of their subjects. After the visitors found their seats, Gino stands between them to announce the opening festivities. You get to read, and Jake gets to be a character.
Well, see, you want me to read for Gino, but you just read for Gino seconds ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
You're
I didn't realize the that he talked then too.
Now I'm apparently Gino. They just heard your voice. It's going to be confusing, but I can.
He's Gino, everyone.
I'll try to mimic your performance.
Confused.
You know, this is I'm Ewan McGregor taking over for the former Obi-Wan Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness.
Yep. Hello, my fine friends, and welcome to my home. Here are the lines, codes, and punishments of your new trade alliance will be beaten out. You shall argue and fight, and I shall stand stalwart in the middle, preventing any ugliness from transpiring. To commence this fine art of negotiation, we shall look back upon the ugliness of the past. Before you see the ashen pit of combat, where so many have died before. Both of your great leaders have selected from your fine stable 2 slaves to participate in combat. Their deaths shall birth a new light of camaraderie between your 2 clans, and from their bloodied bodies shall the flower of friendship bloom. Jeez, Jay, you're not making it this easy on me. You really put a lot of big words in there.
Yeah, I like big words. The room meets Gino's stirring speech with a tepid applause. The simmering loathing of both houses briefly distracted by the showmanship of their host. 2 slaves are brought out of the rabble of their houses, their heads covered in canvas and their hands bound. The bags are ripped from their heads and the slaves blink rapidly as the audience looks upon them. The larger of the 2 is a man of 30 rotations with green hair that gently holds his shoulders. The other, a boy, stands with a deep fear penetrating his every motion. They are both pushed into the pit and tossed weapons representing their clan. The boy is tossed a spore tusk, and the man is tossed a small emerald knife, which he throws back into Stain. The 2 gladiators ready themselves for combat. As the battle is about to commence, the slam of the opening front door pauses all. A man walks into the front hall, all eyes on him. He removes his hood and bellows his intention. My name is Captain Henry Weird, and I have been charged with ensuring peaceful negotiations between Clan Toth Ursa and Clan Atronox. I have been charged with this duty by the Trade Collective of the Liquid Sun and by the Snake Mother of Rendox 5. Does anyone refute my right to seat at these talks?
I cannot.
A short,
believe
stocky
you.
man with thinning hair and a bushy beard stands up, his cheeks red and flushed with a special grenation brew ported in special for the opening ceremony, and with the doe-eyed bluster of a general who never lost a battle. His array of random medals clatter against each other before they rest cluttered on the man's chest.
How dare you, sir? The Clan Toth Ursa will not allow an outsider a seat at the most secret of...
Henry Weird shoots the man in the chest. A small hole punched into the man's torso allows light to shine through. The man falls to the ground, his leg twitching for a second. Does anyone else object to my being at these talks? The crowd of astro-oligarchs calms itself and settles back into their pre-treaty gladiatorial match. The feuding sons, having had their anger distracted by the outsider, sit in their respective thrones, occasionally firing knowing glances at one another, like the flagships of great opposing navies. The dueling stare's intensity is only matched by the dueling slaves trapped in the ceremonial black ash pit. They spill each other's blood with equal parts ferocity and inexperience. The larger slave, whose emerald shoulder-length hair is matted with blood and ash, looks around feverishly, his eyes wide with bloodlust, an animal looking for its tormentor. The smaller of the two, a boy of only 15 rotations, seizes his opportunity and plunges his honed spore tusk deep into the opponent's side. Thick spurts of black blood fire out as he wrenches his weapon out of the green-haired giant. A mixture of anguish and relief fills the air as the larger slave falls to his knees.
Well, go on. Get it done.
The god king of Clan Atronox lazily gestures to the boy with his neck. The boy takes his spore tusk and plunges it again into his enemy, this time deep into the base of his neck, just above where the collarbones meet. The black blood pours out of this poor animal's sallow neck, and with his final act, he grabs the boy by the sides of his head. The dying man stares deep into the boy's eyes and lets out a horrid cackle, like how a spider might sound if allowed to laugh. The green-haired man slumps to the ashen floor dead, and the boy is escorted from the pit with the tips of electrified spears. So, that's the end of the supplement. Yeah. You didn't expect that to happen, did you?
For the audience, if you don't know, you probably do know. So Charlie threw in there, randomly, in the middle, unexpectedly, that a Mr. Captain Henry Weird showed up. And if you don't know who that is, he's done about 3 or 4 episodes about this character.
This will be,
already.
I think the 4th
beginning with him doing a fucking podcast. And then a whole series of space adventures. So this is a reoccurring character. He does a lot of space
adventures. Yeah, he's one of our stable of reoccurring characters, right? So this is how Henry Weird got into this Dune. Because what's my big problem with Dune? The fact is, it's just a whole bunch of nonsense people who don't at all talk like human beings. And so I was like, well, you need to have a Han Solo type character. You gotta have a guy who kind of calls everyone on their bullshit a little bit. You know, I'll come up with some character. Oh, wait. I already have a Han Solo type character that exists within our cosmology. Mm-hmm. Why don't I make this a Henry Weird show? And so, the new and improved title, if you will, is Henry Weird and the clan. How do you say it again in Italian?
Nessuno Niente.
Yes, Henry Weird and the clan Nessuno Niente. Nessuno Niente.
And the clan Nessuno Niente.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
So
is that the name of the clan? I guess it'll explain it.
Yeah. So
this is really interesting because previously Captain Weird has done a podcast show where he talked about his space adventures. Yeah. A show where he went on a journey into oblivion that involved space monkey mechanics and hive minds.
The Monkanic, who will make a reappearance. The Monkanic is in the show, by the way.
Oh, God. And then also Captain Weird and the Affair of Corporate Exportation, which was a show about him destroying revolutions across the galaxy. So all of his shows have been very comedic. And this sounds like a serious show with possibly comedic elements. So it'd be interesting to see how he fits and how you use him. I'm excited.
Well, exactly. I think he's the unintended element. He's the he's the piece of the puzzle that doesn't quite fit, right? And so really the show is going to be about Anissa. If you remember, she is the mediator's wife, right? Wife of Gino. Anissa was purchased by Gino. I would imagine Gino is like in his mid 40s and Anissa is maybe 19. Captain Weird is about 28, let's say.
Oh, where is this in the Captain Weird timeline?
I would say it's post. I think we're going chronological except for the first one. The first one is obviously the last, like the first Captain Weird episode we ever did is the last
You're like,
Captain
this
Weird
is like
adventure.
the Star Wars fucking movies. You started
Exactly.
off with the end, and now you're doing the prequel series.
Where we get into all the space adventures. So we've got Clan Toth Ursa, which means Death Bear. Toth means death in High German, and Ursa means bear in Latin. And Toth Ursa, like I said before, they are this nomadic plundering species, or nomadic plundering culture. I have come to think of them as socialist slavers, right? So if you are a member of Clan Toth Ursa, right, your needs are always met. They take care of their people. They're very much about like making sure everybody's educated and healthy and well fed. There's not really an ownership as much as there is a collectivist idea. But that's only for the people who are part of the clan. But they have a lot of slaves because they're a plundering people, you know? And so they're kind of pseudo-Viking pirate guys. And so they have tons of slaves who do all of the hard, horrible shit that they have to do in order to, like, keep a ship running in space, you know? Like, they're growing the food, they're cleaning the toilets, they're doing all this stuff, and they get the bare minimum. But if you are a member of Toth Ursa, you get treated well, you know? And so they're kind of very xenophobic. They're not a clan that really expands very much. They don't take people in, right? And that's in direct opposition to Clan Atranox, which means Black Knight in Latin. Knight as in knight, not knight as in swords, you know?
Okay.
And they're more of a hierarchical system of government where they have their god king at the top and everybody else exists in different castes below him. But they're constantly expanding, right? They're an expansionist culture that is all about, like, indoctrinating people into their way of being, right? And so you have these kind of two almost diametrically opposed cultures, right? What happens is there is a new trade line that has just opened up, and it passes right through Atranox's homeworld, but it's a trade line that has been established by Toth Ursa. And so that's why they've met on Nuterum 5, because they need to figure out the, you know, lines in which they're drawing to make sure that there's not a war between these two cultures, right? And eventually Atranox relents, right? The God King relents and he says, you know what? You can have the whole trade line, but you have to bring me the a surviving member of Clan Niente.
Nessuno Niente.
Yeah, Nessuno Niente. You have to bring me a surviving member of that clan. And everyone bursts into, like, starts laughing hysterically, right? Because that's a clan that, if it ever did exist, they went extinct centuries ago, right? And, like, so it's basically, you know, you have to go get me a unicorn's horn if you want to get this thing, right? But the Prince Skull, right, of Toth Ursa stands up and he slams his spear on the ground, right? His extra big armor kind of shakes and clatters against itself, right? He slams the spear on the guy and says, I shall do it, you know? Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna accomplish this impossible task. And when I do, you will leave us alone. Like, where we are taking this trade route and you have no right to get angry about it. And so what happens is Henry Weird decides he is going to join Toth Ursa, like join Prince Skull on his journey. And so he, you know, volunteers his ship, but he'll only volunteer his ship if he's able to take that slave boy who lived through the combat, right? Because Henry is not somebody who, you know, he's not a great guy, but he's not somebody who really can withstand slavery. He's not about it. He doesn't like it. And so he's like, that kid survived. He lived. You know, you would just put him in another hole where he'd go and die, but I'm going to take him, right? And if I take him, then we're good to go, right? And so they decide that it's okay. The kid's name is Rika, Ricca. He is a slave boy. His whole family was killed by Toth Ursa. They were on a colony ship going to find a new world, and Toth Ursa plundered them and killed everybody, and who they didn't kill, they enslaved, right? Mm-hmm. And so this boy has been living a few years in slavery underneath Toth Ursa, and he is a bit, he's kind of shell-shocked and a little fucked up, but Henry sees, he's got a fighting spirit to him. And Henry's Henry. He's always very affable and fun, but he does have a little bit of a darkness, a little edge to him, right? Mm-hmm. That sometimes comes out. And so the show really begins when Prince Skal, Henry, and Rika all get on the ship together and with the Munkanic, and they fire off into space to go search for the clan Niente. No, I don't know why this is so hard for me. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember. Nessuno and Niente, right? And so it's kind of a journey, adventure, odyssey show. Mm-hmm. Except for the fact that they're about, they're pretty far away from the planet now. They've all kind of are settling into what it's gonna be. And Anissa rolls out of one of the storage hatches. She's wanted to do this for years now, but she's never gotten an opportunity long enough to get away from her husband. Right, but she stowed away on this ship, right, with this crazy, cool Han Solo space adventuring guy, right? And she's gonna go see the galaxy. And at first, Henry's turn the ship around, we're dropping her back off. I can save one slave, I can't save two. If I save two, you're too much of a headache. But she's able to convince him that, it's okay for her to be there, and she's useful, and she's good with medicine, and she can help people if they get injured or sick or whatever. She's useful and she can make herself useful, right? And so the majority of the show is just following these 5 characters as they journey across space and they try and find Nessuno and Niente. They try and find this clan that may or may not exist. And they deal with pirates, and they deal with crazy space bugs and monsters and natural disasters, and they bond and they become closer, right? And this does involve 2 separate illicit affairs that begin. Oh. Because Anissa has become so enamored with Henry that she just falls into his arms, and they, start an affair. They start having kids and stuff. Or not having kids. They start bumping uglies. Oh. Not having kids. They start bumping uglies and making out and stuff. And in the meantime, Prince Skal has nothing but disdain for Rika, this slave. He thinks he's better, and he thinks he's as good as me. He's a fucking slave. And they, their relationship starts out as being really angry and rageful and all this stuff, until eventually it turns out that the reason that Prince Skal is so hates this slave so much is because he's actually deeply attracted to him, and they start kissing as well. So we've got 2 separate affairs that...
Man, look at you.
Exactly. I've been on book talk. And so eventually I do have the final, the final idea. As you can tell, I don't have a ton of, episode ideas specifically. It's more so just the odyssey of fun and characters interacting. But the final, action sequence will be them finally finding the clan Niente, Nessuno Niente.
Nessuno Niente.
Nessuno Niente. They find the clan, and it is inside of this, space whirlpool. And at the bottom of the whirlpool is a black hole that's, pulling them in constantly. But somehow the clan was able to construct their temple on the, precipice of this black hole, around it, sort of like those, pueblos in Arizona and New Mexico, where they're built into the walls, and so you have this crazy, you have this crazy sort of elaborate Indiana Jones style. There's booby traps and all this stuff, just trying to find if anyone's there, and they find that the only surviving members of this clan, they have devolved such that they're basically animals, They're running around naked, letting their waist fall where they may, and they're horrible. If you've ever seen The Descent, they're basically those guys. They've been by this black hole so long that they They're not getting any light. Their skin is sallow and pale and, you know, rubbery and gross, and they're barely eating, right? What they are eating is mostly just like mold that grows there and each other, right? And so it's this, like, they capture one, they get him in like a cage, and now they have to escape, right? And so that's the fun escape. The mechanic comes in, he swings in, grabs the cage, like latches onto the ship, they fly off, right? They're saved. Get back, right, to New Tarim 5 with their prize in tow, right? And as they're about to land, that's when the fighter ships of Prince Nox come through, and he's decided, like, he's been watching them and following them this whole time. He's seen that they were successful, and he cannot allow, right, this sniveling worm of a prince, right, to take what is rightfully his and his father's and his people's, right? And so you have a fun, like, dogfight situation that happens in the skies above New Tarim 5, and then you can see the Toth Mother and the God King Nox kind of, like, looking at each other, and they both know that this is not representative of their people. They're not going to go to war for this, but one of their sons will die. And they cannot fight about it, but it is just an unfortunate truth of what happens when you have hot-headed sons, you know? And so eventually, using his awesome jetpack and, like, cool laser gun and stuff, Henry Weird is able to take out Prince Nox's ship. He explodes in the sun, right? They land, like, Henry, the mechanic, lands the ship, and all of our crew that we've gotten to know over these last few episodes, they're all come out. At first, the Atronach soldiers, they've all got their weapons drawn. They're kind of like ninjas, I would say, but instead of black, it's all like that crazy space fabric. And they've got their weapons drawn, but then the, you know, God King rolls out. He said, put those weapons away, right? The boys, they were defending themselves. You cannot kill someone for defending themselves, especially when it was my son being a fucking idiot that they had to defend themselves from. So, it's fine. Do you have what I asked for? And they bring forth the sniveling, horrible monster of the last of the clan, right? He sighs and he blows the little bit of the beard hair out of his face and he wrap it up. All right, let's go. You know, they did it. I can't say that they didn't do it. They were successful. They'll have some means of, like, proof. It's not just gonna be, take our word for it. We found this freaky looking guy. He's what you're looking for. But and then Atronox leaves, right? And as they're about to take off, that's when Geno runs out of his mansion home. He's half cut, he's drunk, he's got one shoe on, and he demands a duel with Henry Weird.
Oh.
He demands that you stole my wife. You put your seed in her belly, you fucking son of a bitch. And Geno has been nice so far. Like, he's you know, a nice guy, but he is still a slaver and a creep, right? And so Henry is like, dude, she doesn't want to be here. Isn't that good enough for you? And he's like, no, it's not. We're gonna fight right now. And he, you know, Henry, sadly, you know, very unhappily, like, goes up and he get ready for this old West-style duel. And as Geno is fumbling with his gun, trying to get it up, Henry has already shot him in between the eyes. And he falls to the ground dead. And Anissa, you know, walks up to Geno, her husband, spits on his face, and then looks back at Henry, and she says, when are we leaving? And Henry looks at her, he looks at the mechanic. We're leaving. You're not leaving. This place needs a mediator. Ooh. Right? And so he gets back on his ship. Toth Ursa leaves. Atronox leave. Henry takes one final look back at Anissa, right? And, you know, maybe he doesn't, a single tear doesn't roll down his eye. That's a little too much. But he does have a little bit of a wetness in his eyes, right? And he gets on the ship and the landing gear ascends and they fly off into the sunset. We cut to a few days later, right? More ships are landing out front of the mediator's home on New Tarim 5. Anissa walks out. She's by herself. She's in these flowing white robes. Her house is now immaculate and clean again. The body of her husband is long gone. and she looks up at the people who are arriving, and she holds her stomach ever so slightly. Nothing, no one.
Oh.
End of the show. That's how it ends.
It was nothing, but you kind of ruined it right at the end. But
yeah,
it's okay.
I ruined everything right at the end. Nothing, no one.
That is interesting. Possibly a Captain Weird baby out there. Who knows?
Maybe a little weird one. Little weird baby out there. Who knows?
Charlie, I have some special news for you.
Yes.
This episode of the podcast brings us to 4 episodes of The Adventures of Captain Weird, which ties it with all of our other series that have multiple episodes. We now have a 5 series tie with 4 episodes each. So someone could break.
Res Publica, Isaac Illich, Jimmy King, Captain Weird, and who else? Is there one more?
Captain Weird, Isaac Illich, Res Publica, Jimmy King. And I've got my integrated universe of The Traveler, so all those shows about the series at the end of time. That's less of a linear series than the others, but I still put it in there. We also have Splatterpunk, which is just 2, but we have a tie. Who's it going to be? Is there going to be Res Publica Season 5? Jimmy King's going to return? Isaac Illich? Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe Jimmy King is Henry Weird's son. Who knows? He's not. That would be crazy. That would be so dumb. That'd be. Don't do that. I really like this series. This was fun. I did not expect Captain Weird to get thrown in there. I like your serious take for Captain Weird on this show. I mean, I know it wasn't truly serious, but it was mostly serious. Yeah.
To get to see him in a different environment.
He's dealing with some heavy topics. And one of the things to me about Dune is that no one's a good guy in Dune, and I kind of wanted to bring that forth. Because if Captain Weird was just, he is the hero of this story, that would be lame. He's also kind of got to be a little bit of a bastard. Even when he's trying to be a good guy, he's a little bit of a bastard, you know? Yeah. So that's the show. And also quite literally the only reason that we had to read those 3 pages was so that I could get you on the Captain Weird surprise.
You did get me. I did not see that coming at all. It just, you could hear me saying it as you were reading, because I read like a sentence ahead and saw the Captain Weird was coming in. I was like, oh my freaking God. Because it seems so serious, and Captain Weird is a long-standing character, and serious is not his thing. It's
his forte.
Very much a non-serious character. But he did fit well into this, because he's not like goofy. He's just...
Yeah.
He deals with a lot of kind of weird things that are somewhat comedic. I mean, the first show is just straight comedy, but the second 2 shows dealt with some heavier ideas in like a sort of jokey manner. But he did fit well into this universe, and I like the show. Definitely didn't see it coming. What was the revised title again for our listeners?
Oh, Captain Weird and the Clan Nessuno Niente.
Captain Weird and the Clan Nessuno Niente. The only time you got it right was right at the end. Very glad.
Yeah! That's what I'm about, baby. Yeah. Also, while writing this, I remembered something. I was like, mate, actually writing is really fun, you know?
Yeah.
I was writing at work just on my phone. I was like, this is actually pretty fun. Why don't I do this more often? Oh wait, I do this all the goddamn time. But yeah, I enjoyed writing it. I thought there were some fun imagery in the prose. I thought it was it was a fun little thing.
Well, you heard it here first. 265 episodes in, Charles realizes it's fun to write the pitches. What have you been doing before this?
Yeah.
Have you just been struggling with how unfun it is?
ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
That's just the only one I didn't use ChatGPT on before this episode was Dolphin High School.
So you were using ChatGPT on pitches that before ChatGPT came into existence.
Yes, I was a beta tester. You know how it is.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was fun, and it's And Frank Herbert can eat it, because writing a Dune's not that hard. I've never read Dune, but
I have not read it either, so our criticism earlier may be unfounded. But I've looked at Wikipedia and other things, and I've read like the lore, and it gets weird. I'm assuming it's less weird when you're reading it in the book, but just reading the static facts as they are, you're like, there's like a worm god. Like, what's going on here? This is just some weird. This is some weird crap. A lot of weird. Also, sexual themes as well, and I don't know.
Also, the fact is, your space hero is named Paul. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, they do have some crazy names in there, and then just Paul.
Paul and Duncan. Fuck you. Come on, work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
On that. Come on, mate. Because I was talking with a buddy yesterday who loves Dune, and first of all, I said I don't like Dune because I don't like those movies. I've never read the book, but I watched the 2 Denis Villeneuve movies, and I was like, I don't love them. I don't think they're bad. I don't love them because everybody feels like a horrible, weird, sexless robot person just shouting insane space Shakespeare at each other. And he turned to me and he said, yeah, that's the point. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. That's dumb. Why just make a whole bunch of characters that no one on Earth could possibly relate to? What's the point of that? And then I said, and also the name Paul is dumb for your fucking space hero, like God King person. And he said, oh, well, it's a biblical reference. And I'm like, fucking stupid. Dumb. It's a bad reason to have anything. Moses is Superman. They didn't name him Moses Kent, did they? They didn't, you can make up fake names, bro.
That was a poor analogy, but especially from a man who named a character Jimmy King.
Yeah. Because I took 2 characters I liked from history and I put them together. It's a great name. Jimmy King is a great name. So is Captain Weird.
Okay. Send us out, Charles.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me has always been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe to your friends, to your family, to your dog, to your cat. Getting very intense with it. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series for you to imagine and enjoy. Do you want to know the title, Jake?
I do, because unlike the previous episodes where we have told each other beforehand, I genuinely don't know what the title is right now. So I need to know, because I got to write it.
Yeah. All right. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 titles.
I'm going to go with number 2.
2. Oh, 2 is my favorite. Are you excited?
Oh, God. I know. I'm not.
Crime Wave. That's the title.
Crime Wave. Okay. It's going to be about a literal wave of crime. A tsunami of crime.
I was thinking bank robbers who have surfboards.
Bank robbers on surfboards.
Right?
I give you the titles I give you versus the titles you give me will always amaze me. I get first and last place and Crime Wave. You get The Standard Deceit, Protocol 7, Raising Brains.
Raising Brains. Hey, you also got the ugliest raisin in the world.
Like you gave me, you gave me Underground Funk, which was good, and The Garden of Sodom. And sometimes you just mess with me, and I hate when you mess with me.
Yeah, Crime Wave is going to be great, and I'm excited about it. And
Crime Wave sounds like a serial cop show that came out in like the 60s or something, or the 70s.
Yes, it's Baywatch, but from the bad guy's perspective.
Crime
Did Baywatch
Wave.
have bad guys? What's Baywatch about? We've been talking way too long after the outro. You guys have a good day.
Okay, bye.